So I actually really don't like to talk about this stuff, but I do feel like it needs to be addressed. Hey Maddsters! So today we are going to talk about the 5 main growing pains that occur when you go to college for the first time and you're a freshman. Don't forget to go and check out my Maddsters Guide to Michigan, literally 40 plus pages of everything that you need to know. I'm continuously updating it, so go check that out. Also, I will link below my Google Drive full of University of Michigan resources and just college in general, so hope that helps. Starting off with number one of the biggest things that I have realized from going to college and am still realizing is the difficulty of maintaining relationships now that you are separated from your friends. So think about it, you grow up going from elementary, middle school, high school. Most of the time, and for most people, you're surrounded by the same group of kids throughout that whole time. You have that set 7 to 3, and then I did gymnastics 3 to 7. So there are some people that I was with for like the majority of the day. And so it's really easy to like build and maintain your friendships. And you don't even think about it because it's like, oh yeah, I'll just see that person on Monday. But when you go to college, first of all, you will find out who your actual friends are. So my freshman year, I think I did a really great job of FaceTiming, staying in contact with some of my closer friends from gymnastics. However, that did start to drop off like second semester going into the summer, especially because of COVID too, so that kind of took a hit. But I got really bad at keeping in touch with people. But with that also, you'll see who also puts in the effort. I don't know, I was maybe still in contact with like less than 10 of my high school friends at the beginning of freshman year. And now out of that, I'll go home and maybe like get lunch with 2 to 3 people. So really, really quickly, you will see like who is your actual friend. And I'm not saying that the other people that I'm not in as much contact with are not my friends. It's just like we just kind of fall off. And I would love to go out to lunch together. It's just like we're just less in contact. I also did not have like a high school friend group. So I do know there's like the friend group in my grade that is, you know, goes home or goes and visits each other at their various colleges. That's not me. So it's a little different if you do come from that high school friend group, but I would say you will see like who your real friends are, and that you also have to work on your relationships because it is tough. One of my friends from my Math 115 class, like I really enjoyed that friend group, and we were only together for a semester, and like we lived in different dorms. Like now we're still, you know, all over the place. So it's really, really difficult to like prioritize those friendships and set aside that time in order to like see each other. So it's just more difficult. And as I've gone into, you know, living on my own here in Chicago, it's like very difficult to stay in touch with people. So you do kind of realize types of friendships that you have, as well as who you will mostly stay in contact with, if that makes sense. Don't worry if you feel like you are being a terrible friend, because it's like everyone's just, their lives are changing. And the second growing pain are grades. So to be completely transparent, I did not get a B until I went to college. In high school, my lowest grade, final grade, like yeah, I got like a B or a C on like 1 or 2 tests, but my lowest final grade was an A-. And I went into college and I was like, you know, like I'm a great student, I'm a very hard worker. I kind of expected I would get a B at some point, and I ended up getting a B+ in Math 115. And to be honest, I wasn't even that upset about it. Like looking back, I have never been upset about any of my grades because I think that B+ was very justified. I worked my butt off in that class. As you guys know, that was the hardest class I've ever taken. Well, one of the hardest ones. And I thought I did really well, except I like got a B- on the final, which if I got a B on the final, I think I would have gotten an A-, but I got a B-. So I was like, whatever. And after that class was done, I was like, you know, I literally worked the hardest I could, and that's as good as I could do. I did also get a B in Econ 101, but that was also during COVID, so I just covered that up and changed it to like a pass on my grade or on my transcript. So it was like whatever. Otherwise, like I've gotten a couple of A-, but again, like those were the classes that I worked my butt off in order to do well. It's not like I was shocked or I felt like really bad about myself for getting like lower grades, and those grades are like very high, which I understand. but it's more like those were the hardest classes I've taken, and I had to work for those grades. I mean, I kind of expected, I wasn't really surprised about it. I'm at the point where it's not that I don't care about school, but it's like you can only study so much and that's it. I know, especially my senior year of high school, I did not get senioritis, but I was like, there's no point in me like crying, being super stressed about school, because there's only so much that you can do, and at some point you just like gotta stop. And that's been my mindset around school. To be honest, school has never really stressed me out in the past like 4 years, but for some people definitely the grades are a big change from their time in high school, so be aware of that. Number 3 is your relationship with your family. I know some students do not have the greatest relationship with their family, or they're just kind of on college on their own. But for me personally, I would say my family dynamic has like slightly changed. I don't know though, because in high school I was gone from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because I went to school straight to gymnastics, and so I didn't really see my family that much. In college it was kind of more or less the same. I know some students, they're like every Sunday at 5 I call my family, and then other students will like call their parents every day. So it kind of depends. For me personally, on the week I do not have a set schedule, but I think that is something that you do need to consider. Talk to your parents about, like, if you want to keep in contact every week, maybe every other week, maybe like 3 times a week, whatever you want to do. But a note to the parents, I know that you probably like miss your child, but like you have to like kind of give them space. At least for me, it works out much better if I call them, because I'm usually like pretty busy, and so I just kind of call when I would think that they would be available. I know some people's relationships with their siblings do change. I have 2 younger siblings who don't have a phone, so that's a little tough. And then my other brother, like, sometimes we'll talk, but not that much. But it really depends, but be aware of that kind of dynamic switching. Number 4, another really huge thing that's different has been rejection. I'm sure you guys have gone through like the first round of rejection with all of your college rejections, where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm totally gonna get into this school, and you just get totally rejected, or like you have this dream school and then you don't get in. And let me tell you, it gets worse, okay? Unfortunately, it does, especially if you are applying for the highly competitive clubs. There's business clubs, pre-med clubs, pre-law clubs, engineering, all that stuff. Like, if you're applying for those, first of all, good luck. But they are quite difficult, very competitive, and you kind of learn how to deal with rejection. And not only that, going into sophomore, junior year and doing your internships, spoiler alert, but like working on a little internship series, but like applying for stuff is tough, because I personally get rejected all the time. And so it's at the point where you're like, yeah, like it just happens. But in the beginning, you're like, wow, I feel super qualified. I feel like I'm a really great candidate. I feel like I would be a really awesome member. And then you just get rejected, and it's very demoralizing, but you know, it just never goes away. So get ready for lots of rejection. And finally, number 5 is literal physical growth and like body growth. I don't really like to talk about this too much. Everyone talks about the fresh and 15, like, oh, like you're gonna gain weight, it's gonna be like so bad when you go to college. And my take on it is, I think it depends on your lifestyle, kind of what you did in high school versus what you're doing in college. So for me personally, I did gymnastics for 20 hours a week. I was working out for 20 hours a week, which is quite a lot. And so I went from 20 hours a week to literally maybe 2 if I went to club gymnastics that week, or if I like went to the IM building that week. That was just difficult for me, because it was like, oh, I was super active to now like literally nothing other than like walking to my classes. Also because I was very busy with like managing the actual gymnastics team. So your body definitely like goes through those changes. I went through like way delayed puberty, and like I'm just now like my period's like actually being regulated. I'm like 20, okay? And so these past few years, like my skin's been breaking out more than ever in high school. So it's been really difficult for me, just because I feel like everyone went through all that in high school, and now I'm going through it in college. But it changes for every person. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about that too much. I think it's pretty much normal for your body to change in general. You're literally going from like a teenager to like early 20s, so like that automatically has changes, and you'll see like freshman year versus senior year you is totally different in high school, and it's going to be totally different in college as well. Don't be too like freaked out or like scared scared about that. I think everyone's going through that. I don't know, it's just like what happens to you, I guess. But I hope this was helpful just to let you guys know kind of the things that may or may not change on your way into college and throughout college. And let me know if you have any other questions. I do have a lot of fun things coming up in the pipeline, so stay tuned. And if you see my campus, please say hi. I don't think you guys understand like how excited I am to go back and meet you all. Let me know if you need anything else. Feel free to DM me and whatnot. But thank you guys so much for watching. Bye, Maddsters.